mindset when we talk about managing uncertainty. And by mindset, I mean, what are the established set of attitudes and behaviors people have and habits? When you are faced with uncertainty, what do you do? Right? That's the question here. And for that, I'm going to actually take a tangent from the technology world and go into the psychology world. And when we talk about mindset and psychology, the world-renowned expert is called Dr. Carol Dweck. Have you guys heard of her before? No? Okay. This is a phenomenal book. Phenomenal book. Forget Agile, forget everything. Read this book. It's called Mindset. It's, I think, number 5 on the recommended list of readings at the end. Right? Here's what she says. So she was Harvard, Stanford, tons of research, and the research shows this. People have one of two mindsets. One is called fixed, the other is called growth. Okay? And let me explain this through an example. If someone were to come up to me, let's say, Jonathan, you were to ask me, Ahmed, can you sing? Jonathan, dude, I mean, I have a horrible voice. I'm sorry. Right? So I've just exhibited, I said, I believe that my voice, my ability to sing, is inherent and static. It's locked down or fixed. My potential is determined at birth, and it can't change. I have a horrible voice, period. Versus saying, Jonathan, I've never practiced singing. I'm sure if I practice, I'll be decent, and I'll get better with more practice. Then I just exhibited a growth mindset towards my ability to sing. I said, I believe that my ability to sing can be continuously developed. My true potential is unknown and unknowable. The more I put effort, the more I'm going to get better. Now, when we look at these two mindsets, on this side here, by the way, this ability to sing, you can change it. It's intellectual capacity, personality, character, whatever it is, fill in the blanks. And it's interesting because people may have a fixed mindset about intelligence and a growth mindset about personality. So they believe their intelligence can't change, but my personality can. All right? So it's not like, oh my God, you have one set mindset for everything or the other. No. Now, when people have a fixed mindset, here's how it works. I believe that what I have is what I have and I can't change, and I want to succeed. I want to succeed. Therefore, I need to demonstrate my ability. Okay? On the other side, the growth mindset says, I have something and I need to develop it in order to succeed. So on one side, we're talking about demonstrating ability. The other side, we're talking about developing ability. And these are two different paths totally. Now, if you want to demonstrate ability, you have a constant desire, right? A constant, just inherent something inside of you that says, you need to look good. Don't look bad. Don't fail. Because if you fail, you're not demonstrating ability at all. You're demonstrating lack of ability. So they avoid failures. And because they avoid failures, what do you think they do with challenges? Embrace them? No, hell no. They don't embrace challenges, they avoid challenges. And they stick to what they know. I know how to do this, I'm going to stick to it, and that's it. Do you think they like feedback? Not really. Why? Why do they not like feedback?
Because it's a challenge.
It's a challenge, and it affects their personal self-image. You're giving me feedback, and I can't do anything about it. So, I'm just going to blame someone else. It's not my problem. If they avoid failure, stick to what they know, don't like feedback, they don't change much. Therefore, re-emphasizing their mindset that they can't change. Now, on the other side, the growth mindset says, I want to continuously develop, right? So I don't have this thing inside of me that says, I want to always look good. Actually, I have a whole different thing inside of me that says, I want to always learn. And therefore, I don't have a problem confronting uncertainties because I'm going to put effort into it, and what's the worst that can happen? The outcome won't come out, but I'll learn a lot, right? So they don't call it failure, it's learning. They're not afraid to put a lot of effort into learning because they know they're going to learn something out of it. And feedback is cool. Feedback is about their current capability, not about their self-image. Now, you're not born with one of these, right? It's from a psychological perspective, it's how your parents raise you. So it's the words we use around our kids that would actually have them have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. And it was quite frightening for me as I read this book, as I was raising my own kid. I'm like, oh great, I'm doing everything wrong, right? Because how would I know, right? I mean, I was actually using all the language that drove a fixed mindset in my kid. If he did something right, I'd motivate him by saying, look at you, you're so smart, right? You're so good, right? And the reality is saying those kind of words, you're so smart, you're so good, right, is actually developing a fixed mindset in the kid. Why? I'm saying, you're smart, you're good. And you keep driving that, like, okay, I am smart. I am good. Therefore, when I get a C on my math quiz, it's not my fault. I'm good. I'm smart. It must be someone else's fault. You can't teach math, teacher. Right? Or, and this is the worst, I don't like math. It's not about putting effort. It's not my thing. I'm not good at math. I can't sing. Versus over here, it's quite different. You get a C, well, I really didn't study. Or I need to study harder. What about him? He didn't study at all and he got an A. That's fine. But I need to study harder. Now, so you guys get the mindsets, right? What does this have to do with work? It has to do everything with work, okay? Because take out intelligence, personality, character, take those out, right? Let's put work. I believe that in order to succeed, my work needs to be fixed. You need to tell me what you want me to do. That uncertainty stuff you're talking to me about, that's going to put me at risk at looking bad. And I'm not going to look bad because I want to succeed. So a fixed mindset approach to reducing uncertainty says, nail things down. How many times have you heard people at work say, just tell me what I need to do? Right? Very common. When in doubt, just say, tell me what I need to do. Why? Because listen, I want to succeed. I'm a good guy. Right? I want to succeed. But you keep changing requirements, you keep changing your mind, this uncertainty, I cannot succeed. If I need to stick to what I know how to succeed when I know what the outcome is. That's what I need. You tell me the outcome, I'll figure out how to do it. But now you're not telling me the outcome. Right? You're saying, it's uncertain. Dude, now you're putting me at risk. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to try to confirm things. We're going to get a sign off. We're going to spec it out up front. The Agile mindset, which is the growth mindset applied to work, I call the Agile mindset, reduces uncertainty because they're human. They still need to reduce uncertainty. But they reduce uncertainty by learning and discovering quickly and efficiently. Let me show you by example. Iterations are one of the most popular Agile practices out there, right? A lot of people, when they think Agile, they think iterations. True? Here are iterations applied with a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. Take a look. What do you see on this top row here? This top row says the following. I have a fixed mindset. I want to succeed. The process says iterative, sure, I'm open to that. And you need to tell me what you want me to build, and I'll build it in iterations. So I will not be able to start. I will not be able to start till you tell me what you want. And when you tell me what you want, guess what? I'm going to build it in iterations. And here's the key, guys. As I build something, my purpose of delivering is to finish. It's to check mark, 1/5 is done, 2/5 are done, right? I'm trying to get to the finish line. I'm delivering in order to finish, and I'm allowing you to confirm along the way. I'm being generous here, right? down here, we're talking about a totally different mindset and philosophy. The mindset says, customer, you don't know? I don't know. All right, let's get started. We have an idea of where we're going, right? That's the light in that tunnel of uncertainty. We know we're drawing a woman, not a mountain, right? Okay, let's draw. Is this what you want? No. Great. Now here's the key. That first iteration was built in order to learn and discover, right? In order to allow the customer to learn and discover. You guys with me? Now, this iteration was thrown away. It was deemed a failure, right? Look, have you ever seen the Mona Lisa with her hands in her mouth? Right? Or mountains in the background? So, when I learned and discovered this first iteration, throw away. Here's the point. Think of your organizations. Would they look at this iteration as a success or as a failure? Would we look at this iteration and say, guys, we got it totally wrong. Next time, let's do some more upfront planning here. All right, analyst, we got to get it right next time. Do you hear these words? We have to get it right the first time, or we have to get it right. Do we allow the failure to happen, or do we constantly want to look good? As a customer or as development, guys, this is not about IT side or business side. This is both. The mindset applies across. Because the business may not want to look bad saying, I don't know what I want. IT may not want to look bad and say, dude, I can't build you what you want. This is a common problem. No one wants to look bad. But in that effort not to look bad, we're killing learning. We're killing innovation. You guys get where this is going, huh? Because if we allow learning and discovery to happen, then here's the next one. When we quote-unquote fail, do we celebrate the learning? Or do we punish, at that point, what we thought was bad planning? I mean, if you go back to the diagram on the mindset, right? A failure here is, when we talk about work, when we talk, the feedback and criticism is personal. Any failure and feedback is about lack of talent, right? Lack of planning, lack of doing your work right. And no one wants to hear that. Versus, the feedback is about learning. I've met so many teams, that where things are broken inside, but they're reporting green. Why? Why is that the case? Why are we so afraid to show that we're learning? Because our organizations don't allow that. Because I hired you because of your capability, not for you to come and learn on the job. I'm not paying you to learn. Okay. Well, if you're not paying me to learn, then forget innovation. If I don't, and guys, this is the shift, right? Knowledge work is all about continuous learning. So if you're not paying me to learn, then you're paying me to be a task worker. Therefore, and here's the dangerous part, here's the critical part, I'm going to be a task worker. People fit right into that role. You're going to treat me as a task worker? How much are you going to give me? Huh? Okay, good. All right, I'll be a task worker. I just took a knowledge worker, converted them into a task worker, right? And I want to become a technology company. Hell no. When you hire a bunch of task workers, all you're going to get is an assembly line. Now you have the business people thinking and the IT people doing. Where innovation happens when both of these come together and learn and discover together. Is that clear, guys? Is this making sense? The other thing to think about in this diagram is the linear versus nonlinear way of thinking. Here, it's not about I want to deliver value at any point in time. I have a task, and I'm going to get to the end of it. The boundary of done here remains scope. True? This goes back to what we were talking about earlier. The boundary of done is scope. When can I release on the first top row here? When can I release?
At the end.
At the end. When can you release down here? When would you want to release? People in the room.
Probably around 3.
3? What about you? 4? 5? Depends.
Depends on what, yeah.
Depends on, it's a business decision. I mean, this is a kid's coloring book. Some value. Not tons, but some. You can release at any point in time. Because what you're building is valuable. And this is a big difference here between this and prototypes. You guys remember prototypes?
Yeah, I was going to say, what about proof of concept?
Ah, good. So here's the issue with prototypes. So let's actually ask first. Prototypes, fixed mindset or agile or growth? Is it about learning and discovery? So my analysis, it's a learning and discovery tool used with a fixed mindset. Because think of what we're trying to do with prototypes. Go back and forth till we
Have a defined scope.
have a defined scope, and then we go build. So, and prototypes is the prime example. When the going got tough on this side of uncertainty, we created proof of concepts and prototypes. To do what? I mean, you nailed it, David. We want to move to this side because we know how to execute over here. And just like it's no kid's fault that they have a fixed or growth mindset, all what I'm talking about is no one's fault. Why? Because human civilization has grown from there. If you look at the hunter era, right? Agricultural, industrial, all these are more over there. So when I walk into an organization, it's not about what we're trying to solve. It's not about what they're doing wrong or right. It's about the world is changing around us. Are we ready? And that's a very different message when we talk about agile and agility than saying, we have an issue with efficiency, let's put Scrum into play. No, wait, hell no. Okay, but that's Kinderspiel, right? It's child play. What we're looking at here is the world around us is changing. A startup in a garage can kill a multinational company, right? Because they're innovating quicker. And we've seen those examples. It's not like this is now, a fantasy world. We've seen Redbox, Netflix kill Blockbuster. Right? We've seen those examples. The biggest music distributor in the world is iTunes, piece of software. Think of Amazon, right? The world is shifting around us. The question is, do we have the right mindset as an organization and as individuals to be ready for that shift? That's the message I go into executives and talk to Agile about. Because it's not about, you know when Agile comes from IT, what it sounds like to an executive? It sounds like this. The assembly line workers in the factory have a better way to tie their shoes. Okay, what do you want me to do? Do you support it? Yeah. Are you enjoying it? Yeah, we love it. Great. What do you want me to do? Do you want to tie your shoes like us? No, and I don't really know why you're talking to me. Right? If they view it as an IT process, it is totally, and again, I picked the shoes, it's just, what do you want from me? I don't even know where the conversation is going here. You have a good process? Good, great for you. I totally support the new way you tie your shoes. Now, what do you want from me? Nothing, sir. Oh, great. We want you to support us. You have my full commitment. Tie your shoes the way you like it. Those are the conversations I'm hearing. I'm not kidding. Versus telling the executive, are you ready to change the culture? Why would I want to change the culture? Not because you have a bad culture, right? Or not because we have issues with our culture. It's because the world is shifting. Ford is calling itself a technology company today. Ford, the car manufacturing, the mother of the assembly line, right, is calling themselves a technology company, and good for them. And good for them. Telco companies are calling themselves technology companies, not phone companies. And they better, or else they'll become obsolete. Banks. Are banks just financial institutes today? Think of the potential of online banking and what you can sell. And I mean, guys, the world is shifting. You have a crappy bank application, people will leave your quote-unquote financial institute. Technology is playing a very different role. And if we're not going to be able to innovate, if we're not going to allow this to happen, and this is the best freaking example right down here. When this iteration fails, do we celebrate or do we punish? Because if the purpose is known as learning and discovery, then hallelujah, we're celebrating. But if the mindset is, we just missed one iteration to get towards done, shame on you. Now we can't validate 1/5 of delivery. We're going to have to redo the work. Right? Redo the work. We're going to redo this iteration. Remember the example of writing? This is exactly like trying to think that you were selected to write an article for the prime minister or for the president, of your country, whatever it is, right? But here's the process. The process says the following. You're allowed to consult with the president or prime minister as much as you want to come up with an outline. Once you agree on the outline, you get one shot at writing the actual speech. One shot. And they should read it and love it. No drafts. No backspace. Nothing. You get one shot at it. It's ridiculous. But we ask our developers and our technology organizations to do the same. We'll talk about it, but once we come up with the specs, you guys get one shot to develop the code. And we should love it at the end. Right? They don't even know what they want. Just like the prime minister or president would not know what the words should be till they rehearse and read it several times. It's the exact same thing. But when we try to build in iterations, we look at the first draft and say, you're a lousy writer. Versus saying, that's not what we were supposed to write. Let's learn and discover together. Very different shift. Now, if you try to approach knowledge work using a fixed mindset, here's what you get. Here's what you actually get. 45% of features are never used. 45% of features in custom-built systems are never, ever, ever used. David is smiling because you've been in those meetings. Right? You've all been in those meetings where we're sitting there saying, yeah, let's just put it in. We might use it in the future. We might need it. We don't know. Right? Why? Because we're trying to build knowledge work using a fixed mindset. There's an actual economic cost here. That's not talking about the 19% of features that are rarely used. But look, only 20% are often or always used. Can we get to those first? Remember, value-driven development? That's what this is about. And the problem is, we don't know what these are. We learn and discover. And so, the value-based discovery approach says this. This is the key. We want to focus on efficient and effective continuous learning. I hope I've promoted that concept enough up to this point. Okay? However, we have to lower the cost of change so we can actually accommodate and welcome the learning. Now, here's the missing component. We have to deliver value as we learn so that the company will allow us to focus on learning. Because we're not an R&D company, most of us. Which means that I need to learn through the delivery of value. And that's where it gets complicated. Let me explain this in a little more detail. These are typical artifacts that we deliver in order to learn and discover. Documents, right? Wireframes, screen designs. We have discussions in hope of learning and discovery. We build interactive prototypes, paper, on-screen. All of these are in hope of learning and discovery. These are all awesome discovery tools. But the ultimate discovery tool is working software. Think of this. If I were to create a prototype of something, hand it to my customer and say, give me feedback, tell me the learning. He'll give me 10 items. If I were to turn around and say, yeah, this isn't the prototype, this is actually what we're going to release to production, will they give you more feedback? Yes? Why? Because suddenly, oh, this is going to production, I'm going to give you more feedback now. We missed out on learning and discovery simply by calling something a prototype or a working piece of software. Imagine the actual prototype versus the actual working piece of software. So, what Agile is saying is this. Let's focus on building working software. Because one of two things. It will either provide you with the most amount of learning and discovery, or, if you love it, ship it. Because here's the other problem with prototypes. Let's assume we agreed on a prototype. Okay? The moment I turn my back to go build it, what's happening over there? It's being changed. It's what we call discovery changes understanding. You're in a constant state of discovery, whether you're conscious of it or not. You're looking at what your competition is doing, how your market is responding, right? The moment I actually hand you the prototype and turn away, your mind is still thinking. True? Requirements will never stop changing. So if there's a gap of time, between when you like it and when I ship it, that gap of time will have change. So what we're saying by delivering working software here is this. You like it, I can ship it right away. We can get a return on investment, we can get business value from it. You don't like it? Great. We have developed the thing that will provide us with the most efficient and effective learning. So I got the most learning, let's move on to the next iteration. But that requires a mature growth mindset in the organization. And that's the Agile transformation. That is the Agile transformation. It's transforming the organization from one mindset to the other. And you can't do it by only transforming IT. This is IT, this is business, this is leadership, this is customers. That's the transformation. That's the size of what we're talking about here. Make sense? Questions? Thoughts?
Are you? Oh, sorry.
Just thinking of the learning process, the learning discovery process, and thinking of those agile organisations that you just referred to, they outsource the stuff that isn't core to them or is reasonably static or stable. Now, it crosses my mind that if you're a researcher in our OO world, you go out and find what's already been discovered before to avoid the risk of rebuilding it. You go out and discover that you don't have to buy a computer and run it. You can actually you can go to Amazon and do that.
Yeah, 100%.
Find some OO components instead of rewriting them. That's part of the. I mean, it's not just learning from customers; it's learning from others.
Everything.
Before.
See, for me, this is the best summary I could come up with. I don't know. I know it's not perfect, right? It's the best I could come up with to highlight what we're talking about here. It's efficient and effective learning, and part of that is looking at what other people learn, right? And it's continuous. It's not learning up front, right? But this step is the usually forgotten one. That the thing that you deliver in order to learn has to provide value. Or else someone's going to tell you at some point in time, stop learning and go build the damn thing. Right? That's the problem. Someone's going to have to tell you, stop learning. You're learning on my dime. You're not giving me a return on investment. But if the thing we're using for learning is delivering value, then it will allow me to focus on learning. No one's going to bug me.
The key challenge in that is defining that value. But if you're dealing in a customer-supplier relationship, is you can take this model in, but if you haven't got agreement or a shared understanding of what value is, you're stuffed because
you got it.
Something and you say this is ready to be shipped, and it goes, but it only does this little bit of the job.
Peter, you got it. This is the critical step, and this is why Agile talks about collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. Why? Because if we cannot identify what value is, then how are we going to build something of value? Now, the challenge is to deliver something of value that provides learning. Because it's not just of value. Because I can argue that this provides value. I can argue, but it doesn't provide learning. So the art of Agile, right, of agility, is to be able to find all three of these actually, right? What are we going to build that's going to provide value and learning, and it's not expensive to build? Because if it's expensive to change, then I won't be able to fulfill this cycle. Clear? So all the practices that we're going to talk about for the rest of this course are all about this. This is the essence of agility. Screw iterations and stand-ups and sticky notes and all that kind of stuff. If we're not doing these three things, we cannot be agile.
Doesn't it also presume, though, that your customer
Is educated on this
is
stuff.
educated on
110%.
Right. So
I don't know how to do it without that.
Right.
Because if I'm just writing an article but the teacher isn't checking in on me,
Yeah.
right? And telling me when is it good enough, did we actually learn anything? Because the learning happens on both sides. And the same exact discussion about mindset happens over there. If they see this as a failure, my contract is terminated. It is. Imagine, you give something to the customer and say, that's not what I asked for. First of all, the fact that they asked for it instead of collaborating, that's the issue, right? But if they look at it and say, you don't know what you're talking about. But I did an end-to-end slice. Do you like it or not? No, I don't like it. Great. What do you not like about it? You're fired.